The leaders of South and North Korea will meet face-to-face for the first time later today at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, marking the first leadership summit between the divided countries in more than a decade. The summit between North Korea's Kim Jong-un and South Korea's Moon Jae-in will also be only the third time leaders of the two countries have met since the start of the Korean War in 1950. This is a prelude to the real main event, which is expected to happen in early June. And hip-hop superstar Kanye West left his studio wearing a MAGA hat today after he traded complimenting tweets with President Trump. He didn't just stop there. He blasted Obama in an epic Twitter rant. West said the mob can't make him not love the president and called him my brother. And the left and the liberal media is going absolutely insane over this. Have we come to a day of age where artists can't even express who he supports in public? Hi, I'm Michael Wan, your host for Michael Wan's Op-Ed Live, and this is Jeffrey Prang, LA County Assessor, who is also very, very busy for his re-election campaign. Is it going good, your campaign?
Going well so far.
Okay.
Glad one's done.
All right. Okay, our show Op-Ed Live is not about left or right, it's about right or wrong. So let's get on with our first topic. The summit with South Korean President Moon Jae-in will set the stage for Kim Jong-un to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump in late May or early June. This turn of events is unprecedented. Just months ago, Trump and Kim were trading threats and all kinds of insults. But it seems everything has changed. South Korea's Moon will personally greet Kim Jong-un at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It will mark the first time where a North Korean leader set foot in the South since the Korean War. I would like to get your thoughts on this, Jeffrey.
Well, I think,
what do you think would come out of this summit?
hard to tell what will come out of this summit, but I believe that in an area of the world where we have been plagued by danger, where there's been a risk of nuclear conflict, we're moving in the right direction to be able to sit down and try to determine if there are issues, values that we can come to agreement about. Clearly, it would be helpful for to reduce the tension in this neck of the world. Clearly, for the North Korean people who have been plagued by starvation, it would be helpful to establish a sense of normalcy so that we can provide humanitarian aid to that. And I think for the South Korean people, it would be nice that if they could live in a with a sense of security and safety, and not have to constantly be sitting on the edge of their chairs wondering whether or not the crazy man in North Korea is going to launch missiles at them.
Do you think we can, you said last time in our program that we can never believe Kim Jong-un, whether he really wants to denuclearize North Korea. Do you think this meeting, this summit today, would change that narrative, or should we still not believe him all the way up till the end?
Trust has to be earned, and it has to be earned over a period of time. It doesn't mean that you don't have meetings. It doesn't mean that you don't try to come with agreements, but we will agree to what we think is verifiable. Hopefully that will be the plan. And if you can make agreements that are verifiable and that each side lives up to, then you can make more agreements after that. You have to start someplace, so I'm pleased that we are starting. We should be very suspicious. Yeah. We need to be cautious. We should not raise our expectations too high, but everybody seems willing to talk, and we should see that as an opportunity, and we should take that opportunity.
Do you see a lot of desperation on Kim Jong-un's side because UN has put so many sanctions around them, and also China even participating in these sanctions in an unprecedented way? So they have this economic sanctions to such a degree. There has been some reports that the generals are getting angry at Kim Jong-un because they're not even getting fed well. So is this some kind of desperation move on Kim Jong-un's part just to play this game? Because it succeeded before, right? They said, hey, we're going to act nice, we're going to denuclearize, and they just repeat these same kind of rhetorics, and then the U.S. and everybody else would say, okay, we're happy with that, and they still build on their nuclear program. Are we repeating the same mistake again?
Well, we could be, but we don't know yet. We have an opportunity to engage with them and hopefully create a better structure. There's a few things happening, though, that I think should be of concern to the North Korean leader. One is, as China becomes more and more of an international powerhouse, their relationships with other nations are more important than their relationship with Korea.
Exactly.
North Korea delivers very little value and an extreme amount of cost and risk to the Chinese. So at a certain point, they're going to say, enough of you, we're tired of dealing with your dysfunction. Kim Jong-un also needs to be concerned about his own ability to remain in charge. If his generals, if his senior leaders say that we're suffering too, he could be subject to a coup. And if he does, even in the short term, open up his nation to more trade, to better diplomatic ties, it's hard to take that away. Particularly if the public in North Korea benefits from some of this exchange, and then suddenly he reverts to their old strategy of taking these things away and getting threatening again. The public there has, the people in North Korea have suffered for a long time, and if they begin to taste a little bit more of the good life, it will, I believe, undermine his stability.
What is your thought on the Iran nuclear deal? Trump is against it. He wants to pull out of it. I think it has a lot to do with the North Korean deal. He criticizes Iran deal. He said Obama was stupid, during his campaign trail. He said that it's crazy to inform 24 days in advance to Iran before the IAEA to inspect it. And not even IAEA. According to the deal, Iran inspects themselves. And United States released $15 billion, and also they gave cash of $1.5 billion, I believe. What Trump said was Iran deal sets a precedent of a failure, so he doesn't want to repeat this with North Korea. That's why he wants to pull out of the Iran deal.
I don't agree with the president's position. I don't dispute that there are elements of the deal that could be better. There are elements of it that are not, that we would design differently if we were negotiating with ourselves. But the United States led on this initiative. Western European powers, including Russia, participated in this, and the deal was made negotiating with Iran in good faith.
And France and altogether 7 countries. Right?
So all these countries agreed to this. I think it's very dangerous, and I think that even the Iranian leaders said, "Who wants to negotiate with the United States if every deal that we come up with is subject to being thrown out with a change of administration?" It does appear, from all measurements, that Iran has stopped developing their nuclear program. It has served to reduce tension in the Middle East vis-a-vis Iran on some fronts, and by releasing some sanctions, by returning frozen assets that Iran had from going back to the revolution 30 years ago, has made improvements to the life of the average Iranian person. So I think Trump's approach is reckless. I think it possibly will open up a can of worms that will reinsert danger and tension into an area where there's already enough danger and tension. I think he's going about it wrong.
I think Iran deal is very tricky in my opinion. You're right. We have to honor the deal since it's already said. It's not just the United States, and it's not a bilateral agreement. It's 7 countries involved. France, Russia, like you mentioned. But the problem I had with the Iran deal, because I read a lot of articles and regarding the Iran deal, and I do think it's a really bad deal for the United States. One of the lines I didn't like about the Iran deal is after around 2030, they can build nuclear weapons against. They have it in there. So I think that that immediately raises a red flag. So we can't have this kind of deal with North Korea. Can we just put a cap like, hey, for up to 15 years, you're not supposed to make nuclear weapons? What I think is, regarding North Korea, they should never have any kind of nuclear weapons. You can't put a cap.
Well, I mean, frankly, I believe that the goal should be no countries having nuclear weapons. The number of nuclear weapons that we have in this world today create a risk of destroying the planet. It's even more risky as nations outside of the Western world acquire them, because they are much less rooted in democratic principles that create restraint on the use of them by government. So we need to continue to engage with Iran. I think breaking the negotiation demonstrates that we don't negotiate in good faith. There are elements of it, clearly, that a lot of people agree that need to be changed, and I think we should continue to, along the path. We established a diplomatic approach with Iran. We should continue along those lines to address those areas where we still have concerns.
I think the due date, we renew the Iran deal every 30 days, I believe, every six,
It's not
like
renewed,
that.
it's just certifying that everybody's doing what they said they would do.
And the next one would come, I believe, May 16th or something around that time range. If U.S. pull out of it, it shows a bad sign to the North Koreans, right?
Well, yeah, it shows a bad sign to anybody who wants to do business with us. If you sign a treaty, there should be clear facts that determine why that treaty is being abrogated. And everything I have read indicates that Iran is living up to their part of the bargain. There really is no basis in fact for canceling it for cause. And if the president wants to make changes to it, we should go back to the negotiating table with the other seven parties and address those issues.
Do you think with North Korea we should have some kind of like a 24/7 inspection system going on there, since they have behaved so rogue? It's a brutal regime. They violated all kinds of agreements, as you already know. They tested 6 times of nuclear weapons, and there has been some reports that you read the report that Kim Jong-un said he will not test any more nuclear weapons or ICBM, but it seems like it's because of their self-interest. There has been some area that has been so damaged because of the testings that he had to stop it. So we can't. I mean, I don't believe Kim Jong-un. I know you don't believe him. Many people don't believe what he's gonna do. He's a brutal dictator. We don't know what kind of crazy thing that he would do down the road. So I believe there should be some kind of 24/7 inspection system to prevent whatever he's gonna try to do in the future. If things turns to his favor, many people believe, many experts believe that he would touch that nuclear option again.
Yeah, I don't think we can trust North Korean leadership. We've had 70 years of experience of not being able to trust their leadership, of them making promises that they would renege on. I think the Iranians are a little different. I think there are boundaries that we could work within, and we did in this.
You see Iran as less of a rogue nation compared to North Korea,
right? I think they aspire to work within the community of nations.
Okay.
North Korea does not aspire to work within the community of nations. I don't think they know how, and they're so disconnected from reality and from communications and news. Everything that we've seen in their history under Kim Jong-un, his father and his grandfather, was that there's not a whole lot of deals you can make that they're not subject to abrogating for the least cause.
So we should have some kind of like the inspection that can go on.
We need to have inspections. We need to have deals that are measurable, that are short-term, where we can take small steps to try to build confidence and assurance that they're going to do what they say they are. And over time, if they live up to their agreements, we can expand.
And there has been some report from the Korea Daily in Seoul, Korea, that Kim Jong-un wants America to invest in North Korea, in return of them giving up their nuclear program. Is that a good idea for America to invest there? In return, they give up their nuclear
I think
aspirations?
that American investment in North Korea is probably, in some ways, the best way to ensure a lasting peace. The challenge is, as we've seen, some Americans go to North Korea, despite the advice of the State Department not to, and they get arrested for the most ridiculous of reasons. We had the young man who was held captive for a couple of years and then died after
out of Wambir, right?
Exactly, and for what was the cause? He took a sign.
Yeah, it's just insane.
It was so we don't know yet whether or not they're going to treat our people with proper diplomatic immunity, to respect their citizenship. Are they going to arrest them for ridiculous reasons and torture them? So if they want us to invest there, we need some rock solid assurances that our people are not going to be abused, and that they're not going to cancel or steal our intellectual property or our investments that we make there. But we're a long way from getting to that point. I think the first thing that the Western world could do is to help ensure that North Korean people are fed and that they have adequate medicine.
I think all eyes are actually more focused on late May or early June,
Right.
the meeting between Trump and Kim Jong-un, rather than today's meeting, because we have met before,
Right.
the leaders have met before. So is it just going through the motion then, today's meeting? What is your thought on it?
We don't know. I mean, we've been to this rodeo before.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that we continue to engage. We've not had this sort of contact with this particular North Korean leader.
Yes.
So maybe he's made up of some different material than his father and his grandfather. Let's talk to him and see what he has to say and whether there's reason to move forward next. But I think at the end of the day, at least a snapshot where we are today, it is better today that we're not on the brink of launching missiles at one another than we were weeks ago. Mm-hmm. At least we're talking and engaging, and hopefully something will come out of it that can pave a pathward toward better relations.
Yeah. Well, it's always difficult with North Korea. Let's just hope for the best. Okay, we move on to our next topic. Well, it seems like hip-hop superstar Kanye West doesn't care if his political leanings offends you. But is it supposed to be this way? Is it supposed to be this shocking for a hip-hop artist to show his love for President Trump? Does that mean that all Hollywood people and all entertainers should all oppose and hate Donald Trump? What's your take on this, Jeff?
No, I don't. I think it's all based on situations and constituency and a number of other factors. Yeah. Kanye West, the people who listen to his music hate Donald Trump overwhelmingly.
Overwhelmingly, I would say
so. So at one point, he's a bad businessman. If he wants to sell more records,
But he might get new fans, I would say.
He might.
Right?
I mean, but you know, Kanye West is also notorious for saying outrageous things. Yeah. He is. There are many people who are celebrities, who are singers, who are actors, who have very thoughtful contributions to civic discourse. Kanye West is not one of them. He seems to say things for the purpose of making headlines, maybe for the purpose of selling more music. But he is not, in all of his conduct, professionally and politically, he's not somebody who's known to be a deep thinker, who's particularly thoughtful about how he approaches current affairs.
Do you think he's doing this just for that marketing purpose? To get traction, you know, because he is on headlines everywhere. It was even the top news over the South.
I think Kanye West likes to be in the news. I think he likes to be. He wants to be the center of attention, and he's constantly pushing buttons, trying to see what will keep his name in the newspaper. And he was successful in this one.
I think Kanye West is a very influential artist. I mean, there were times when I didn't like him too because of what he did to Taylor Swift on the MTV Video Music Awards. You remember that? And I thought it was a little bit unfair when he took shots to George W. Bush. Like George W. Bush doesn't care about black people. That's what he said. I thought that was a little bit too much. But this whole issue came about because there's a black conservative woman named Candace Owens. Have you heard about her? Yeah. She came to UCLA last week on Friday, and she criticized the BLM movement, the Black Lives Matter movement. What she said was, you're not living through slavery. We can do. Why don't we give up the victim mentality and take on the victor mentality? That's what she exactly said. So she criticized this entitlement and black community always looking themselves as the victims of society in general. And she said we have to get rid of that. And she was pretty much saying we're not, just because you're black doesn't mean that we have to always vote for Democratic Party. And Kanye West tweeted that I like her idea. That's where this whole thing happened. And then a New York hip-hop DJ called, he's a very good friend of Kanye West. It seems like he was friends with Kanye before he was Kanye. So he asked him, hey, why did you say that? Because this DJ seems to hate Trump and all, and all that. And then Kanye said, hey, we should have open opinions, and Democratic Party should fight for votes, not just take us for granted. Seems like that's what Kanye West said. And during that phone conversation, Kanye said, "I love Donald Trump." He said, "I love Donald Trump" a couple times, and then that came out on the news. And yesterday, he came out with a "Make America Great Again" hat and said, "Hey, I love Donald Trump." And what did he say? "You don't have to agree with Trump, but the mob can't make me not love him. We are both dragon energy." I don't know what that means. "He is my brother." And he came up with he tweeted more than 10 times regarding Trump.
I think his whole comment about "we are both dragon energy" speaks volumes about Kanye West. So there are,
is that in line with Tiger Blood?
There's always a lot of dispute about when Hollywood celebrities, musicians weigh in on civic affairs. A lot of people will respond from the left and the right that who cares what an actor thinks.
Yeah.
Some of them I agree with. And I think
is it jarring for a Hollywood star or an artist to publicly declare what kind of political party they are for or against?
There's nothing wrong with that. They're Americans. They have a right to speak. They have unique platforms where they can magnify their views. I do think everybody needs to be careful in listening to them and recognize that just because you have a big platform and can be on television to express your views doesn't give you any more insight into the issues you're talking about. You just have a bigger microphone. Mm-hmm. You still have to weigh their experience, their contributions, and whether or not they're actually knowledgeable about those issues. There are a lot of actors, a lot of singers and musicians who have views, who I think are thoughtful, who engage and learn things, who you can learn from. Kanye West is not one of them.
Do you feel this is a similar situation with Roseanne? Roseanne getting 27 million viewers on her first episode. It came out. When we first talked about it, it was 18, but it climbed up to 27
but
million.
Roseanne, I think, in some ways is different. She has been somewhat of a political activist and commentator her entire career. I think what shocked a lot of people with Roseanne was that she seemed to bail on her past positions and embrace a whole new set of positions. And it was controversial because the people who liked her historically, her base, suddenly said, what happened? Why did you leave us? Mm-hmm. And there's controversy because if people view you as betraying your past ideals, they're going to be mad about it. Yeah. And she shouldn't be surprised about that. Mm-hmm. Kanye West should not be surprised if many of his fan base stopped buying his music.
Personally, I think Kanye West is creating a ripple effect with this announcement. I don't think there has been any single superstar declaring that they love Donald Trump, right? Other than Kanye West, I don't know anybody else.
He has some folks who supported him during the campaign. So obviously, it's a minority in the world of entertainment.
But I do think Kanye West declaring his love for Donald Trump, it will create ripple effects because he is such an influential figure among the black community. I wouldn't say everybody, but it seems like especially young kids really follow him. I know I have black friends, and I know some black kids around my neighborhood, and some of them were telling me nobody can say anything bad about Kanye West. I mean, some of them are really hardcore fans. And I think the Democratic Party and the left is really scared about this movement, that if you just move 5% of the voters of black African Americans, and African Americans, they participate. Right? They are very active in politics. If 5% of them, if Kanye West will be able to move 5% of the needle towards the Republican Party, I think it creates massive.
If he could do that, I don't think he can. I think
massive shockwave.
I don't think that the African American community is going to change their political priorities.
You don't think young kids' minds would change a little bit?
No, I don't. Maybe a handful. 5% is a huge shift. I don't think that's going to happen. People know that Kanye West says ridiculous things. They roll their eyes and they move on. People will like his music, but they're not going to embrace his views. Other than saying that they're dragon spirits, I don't know what it is about he's saying that he likes about Donald Trump. But Kanye West is not a serious person that serious people are going to pay attention to. I don't think the Democratic Party is in the least bit worried. And they probably, if anything, I think he just focuses issues on the dysfunction of the president and his more radical supporters.
And what did you think about Kanye West's criticism about Obama, that Obama didn't do anything in Chicago for the past 8 years, that nothing changed? You know, the Chicago has been, it's pretty much a lawless city for, as far as I'm concerned. You have like 4,200 people shot at, and they were murdered.
They've got some serious issues, but keep in mind that a lot of the issues that Kanye West is talking about are local issues. They're not an issue. The president is not in charge of law enforcement in Chicago. The mayor is. Issues of distributing services to support the people in need is a function of city, county, and state government.
But the murder is, I mean, the mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel, he's also a Democrat, and he's a huge supporter of, he's very much aligned with Obama.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean Obama was directing law enforcement in Chicago. He wasn't. And I think his views are wrong. You know, you can find examples in every city of where there's challenges, but overall, the economy improved, people's lives improved, and we had stability.
Do you think so during Obama's term?
Yes, I do.
But how about now? You know, the black unemployment rate is the lowest ever, and Hispanic unemployment rate is the lowest ever during the Trump administration. And I think Kanye is probably giving him credit on that.
I think it is a mistake to believe that one president in 12 months could change the economy and change unemployment.
Look at the stock market; it rocketed up, right?
Then it rocketed down. Then it rocketed down.
Yeah, but it's still up more up.
So the stock market is not necessarily a strong indicator of the economy. When unemployment unemployment goes up and down over long trajectories. When you see a president who inherits a good economy, it's not because something they did in 12 months. It's
Do you think he really inherited a good economy from Obama?
He did. We had a bunch
I think it recovered, but I don't know whether it was really good. Because he never hit 3% GDP growth.
It went from unemployment up around 8 or 9% down to almost to full employment. Wages did not recover where they needed to be, but employment certainly recovered. People were doing better under Obama than they were in the last couple of years under George Bush. It took Obama a couple of years to pull us out of the recession that started under George Bush. And a lot of the momentum that began in those last 2 years are what Donald Trump inherited. What we're going to see now was, one, the stock market, which he took credit for, is going up. He's not taking credit for it going down, even though it was his actions that pushed the stock market down.
Because of tariffs and all that,
his tariffs and his aggressive policy, which makes investors nervous about, let's say, war. So, so I don't, the fact that Latino and African American unemployment is low, I don't neither attribute that to Obama nor to Trump, and I think it's wrong for presidents to take credit for their policies having that much of an impact. But they influence these decisions, they don't create them.
But how about manufacturing coming back to Rust Belt? A lot of factories has been coming back. And it seems like some of his rhetoric has been
a lot of manufacturing is not coming back. Some is coming back, some is still leaving. So what we're seeing is we're seeing Donald Trump finding the examples of where...
No, but the manufacturing unemployment rate has been the lowest since like decades, too.
Here's why manufacturing is going to become more economical in the United States.
So doesn't that help the black community? Because they relied upon a lot of manufacturing. So isn't that
it'll help
also
it'll help a lot of working class communities. But here's one thing about one of the reasons why manufacturing is coming back is because wages in this country are going down. We are becoming a low-cost producer. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. The policies with the tax plan that the Republicans and Trump put into place will ensure more people at lower wages. So at a certain point, we're going to be competing with Indonesia and China to be low-cost manufacturers. That's when manufacturing will come back. Manufacturing coming back to this country will not necessarily be a good sign. That may be a sign that we're once again becoming a low-wage, poverty-driven economy.
But isn't it better for us to have that jobs rather than Mexico and China and Indonesia or Vietnam to have those jobs?
Businesses will come back to this country with those jobs if they can pay people cheaper amount of wages than they would in Indonesia and China and Mexico. Okay. So, yes, I do agree that we should bring them back, but I don't think there's
the wage should be higher.
But I think it's also a mistake to think that there's a wholesale shift of manufacturing jobs back in this country, because I don't think that's the case.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Well, that's our show for today. Our show is not about left or right, it's about right or wrong. To stay up to date with our latest videos, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Jeffrey. That's good.
Thank you.